about ways to protect my family and all the stuff that I need to do because I have an idea of what the world can do, right? Like I lived in a really
Right.
bad neighborhood, grew up in a really bad neighborhood. Like I understand. We live in a really nice neighborhood now, so I'm like, oh, you know what I mean? I'm far enough from it
Yeah,
that
I know.
there's these things that I don't have to worry about. But at the same time, my 18 years of living in these bad neighborhoods is like, yeah, it's some bad people just out there, right? And so I'm always cautious. My
Right.
head is always on a swivel, but nothing like what you're dealing with like on a day-to-day basis. So like when you
Right.
talk about protecting your family, were there certain things that you did differently at home, like in terms of protection, or was it more mindset, or was there like some physical, like mental, conversational things like, hey, you talk to them about, or anything like that?
Yeah, so there was yes to all combination of all that stuff, right? There's there's some physical stuff, right? Target hardening of your house, and my kids had routines that no other kids would have. Like especially when I was working undercover, and we would go out in public. My wife already, we had a plan worked out. So if I ran into anybody that I was slinging dope to, or they were slinging dope to me, or whatever the case may be when I was doing my undercover stuff, we already had a plan for that. And so I think planning was the biggest piece that my kids and my wife were part of, and whether they liked it or not, they were kind of hostages in the whole thing. But they were part of this whole program where we would have to plan things out, and then we would have to plan birthdays differently, holidays differently. Because if Daddy was working graveyard, then okay, we would wait till Daddy gets home from graveyard to maybe open the presents on Christmas Day, and then we're going to get a good hour out of Daddy, and then he's going to go crash like a tweaker because he's been up all night. So there was all these little nuances that the family went through, and that really became normal for us. It was normal for us. But if an outsider comes in, they're like, what the hell, right? Because they see it and it looks completely abnormal to them. And then just, to your point, even growing up in a rough neighborhood just like you, that actually prepped us for the world because you do see the raw world in those neighborhoods, right? It's
Hmm.
not all white picket fences and howdy neighbor and all that stuff. There's people shooting at each other. There's fights. There's boundaries that these imaginary boundaries where I knew which road I couldn't go past because that put me in a different neighborhood. And even if I wasn't clicked up, my buddies were. So guess what? You're guilty
You're
by
associated.
association. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, if I crossed a certain imaginary line, and this happened a few times, I'd get jumped. You get on the city bus and you try and take a ride somewhere, and you're riding through two or three neighborhoods. Uh, you learn how to navigate danger that way, right? So I think it was kind of a training ground for me personally as I got into the career. But then, with the family, you're having to train them up. And then even simple stuff like, and you don't call it this, but you're teaching them how to evacuate properly, how to rally points, that we're going to have rally
Mhm.
points where we're going to meet up. You're teaching them security, because I would do heat runs with my family in the car, especially when I was doing undercover stuff. You would do these heat runs, and kids are like, "Where are we going, Daddy?" And just like, we're just going for a little drive, right? But I'm doing heat runs to make sure nobody's following me, make sure I'm clear to get to my house, and then even outside, just playing football with my son. Out there, I've got my gun on me because you don't know. I don't
Right.
know when somebody's gonna come after me, and I've seen the result of not being prepared, and so I don't ever want to be in that situation. And so there's just a lot, man. It's a lot, and I'll tell you, it wears on you, bro. After 30 something years, it wasn't even 30 something years that I realized it. It was probably after about 20 or so years. You start seeing the physiological effects of being switched on for that much time over and over and over, and it starts to manifest itself, with your body.